Welcome to the know. I am Ashley, ready to show off your keyboard and mouse skills against your console buddies PC guys, because keyboard and mouse support is still on the way to Xbox, and per Microsoft it'll be here, well, pretty soon. Xbox corporate VP Mike Ybarra said at PAX West over the weekend about the upcoming feature. Well, he talked a little bit about whether or not it's going to be fair for other players. Ybarra said they'll have to help developers out with that, stating, and so when we bring keyboard and mouse, we'll coach developers and say, look, you've got to think about your multiplayer pools. If you have a competitive game, people are probably going to want the choice to say, I'll play with other keyboard and mouse people, or I'll play only with controller people, or that I'll play with any of those. Wasn't the whole point of this to not split the player base? Are you ready to get a shock right to the childhood? Gamers everywhere were a little bit surprised over the weekend to learn that your favorite plumber, Mario, that is his full name after all, well, he's actually not a plumber anymore. That's according to Nintendo's official profile for the character. The Japanese entry now reads, all around sporty, whether it's tennis or baseball, soccer or car racing, he does everything cool. As a matter of fact, he also seems to have worked as a plumber a long time ago. A long time ago. So basically everything we knew was a lie. Mario is sporty and cool, and just like Barbie, he can be whatever he wants to be. Don't you put him in a box. Honestly, he probably got fired for never turning up to work, and they were like, Mario, why didn't you come to work? And he's like, well, I was saving a princess. And they're like, you need to lay off the shrooms. Knack 2 is the sequel that nobody asked for, but apparently it's out, and surprisingly, actually people feel, well, so-so about it, which is kind of an improvement, but not a huge surprise. Knack 2 is currently holding at a 70 on Metacritic, 72 on OpenCritic, and the reviews are kind of all over the place. Critics write that Knack 2 fixes a lot of the problems of the first game, has some pretty decent combat, and offers a fun action platformer, the likes of which we don't get in modern gaming much anymore, so all that's good. Forbes writes in its review, when you get down to brass tacks and scattered relics, Knack 2 is a nostalgic, if somewhat sterile, throwback to the happy-go-lucky titles we were getting in droves during the late 90s and early 2000s. So, if that ringing endorsement sounds right up your alley, well, go for it, because Knack is out on PS4 today. All in all, it sounds like it's good that it improves on the first, but still, maybe not a whole lot to write home about. It's no Bubsy. Gearbox still won't officially announce Borderlands 3, even though they've shown stuff and been hiring for stuff for years now, but CEO Randy Pitchford is cheekily hinting again that it's totally a thing. We're all surprised. Speaking on a panel at PAX West this past weekend, Pitchford said that around 90% of their studios in Quebec and Frisco, Texas are working on the thing I think most of you guys want us to be working on. It's alien colonial marines too, right? That's totally what he's talking about. Well, we'll have to wait for the official announcement of Borderlands 3, but so far, a lot of people are pegging it for release in 2018 sometime, thanks to some projections made by Take-Two for next year. So, a reveal can't be that far off, right? The Switch is selling like crazy all around the world, but the big question is whether or not it's been selling faster than this generation's unstoppable sales machine, the PS4. Well, that's one of the big questions. Based on some new data, that might be the case actually, well, in Japan at least. According to stat collectors like Media Create and 2CH, it looks like the Switch has hit 1.5 million units sold in Japan in its first 26 weeks, which is, by the way, way faster than the PS4 sold in its first 26 weeks, where it only moved around 650,000 units. Again, that's just in one region, doesn't mean the Switch is outperforming the PS4's initial timeframe everywhere, and it does make a lot of sense for Japan, where the gaming market has increasingly moved to mobile and on-the-go gaming, but it's definitely interesting to see how much the Steam, the handheld system, has behind it so far. Doing pretty well. It looks like another Steam sex games just got in the boot. This is real tragedy. This time it was the point-and-click adventure game, Strangers in a Strange Land. The game got pulled in recent weeks from the platform, but has now been reinstated with huge red censor bars over its farm-related sex scenes. So players can download a patch if they really want to see the naughty bits. That's how they did it in the old days. Will survive this time too, but it's apparently left a few of them a little bit miffed. And once again, it continues to highlight that Steam's policies towards nudity and sexual content are, well, kind of muddy, not really clear, no one knows what's gonna get through and what won't. Most recently, this also happened to the game House Party, which similarly had to be edited before going back up, and just like Strangers in a Strange Land, released an off-Steam patch to get all the naughty bits right back in. Earlier this year, Square-Enix and Marvel announced that they would be working on an Avengers video games together. Now we have a little clue as to what at least one of the games might look like. And it's just so you know, it's not like a full-on Kingdom Hearts spin-off, although that would have been amazing. A NeoGAF poster recently found a job listing for Studio Crystal Dynamics. In it, the studio said it's looking for a lead level designer to help prototype and build combat systems that directly apply to a third-person cover-based action adventure game. Third-person, cover-based action game. All good things. The job post also made it sound like the game will be very online-oriented. So, there you go. Interesting little tidbits, although not really sure why Hulk would ever need to take cover from enemy fire. He is the cover, but you know what? We'll wait and see. Once again, speedrunners have delivered in a big way for charity. The recent Games Done Quick event for Hurricane Harvey Relief raised more than $225,000 for the Houston Food Bank. What's even more impressive than all that, even though that is already very impressive, is that the event was thrown together in just a few days and featured speedrunners streaming out of their homes, since everyone didn't really have time to get together for this one. Pretty awesome to see gamers and fans coming together to help out victims of this disaster. Really nice to see, especially for those of us here in Texas. This, of course, isn't the first time that the GDQ team has raised lots and lots of money for a good cause. Its most recent annual event brought in more than $2.2 million for the Prevent Cancer Foundation, and they do that twice a year, always doing good and doing it fast. It's been a bad year for the box office here in the US, and Labor Day weekend was no different. In fact, it may just take the cake. Entertainment Weekly is reporting that the 4-day weekend in North American theaters will only bring in $95.5 million. That sounds like a lot of money, but it's the lowest box office take for the Labor Day weekend since 1998. The top movie in the States last weekend was The Hitman's Bodyguard, starring Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson, with a measly $10 million. And it's also been out for a couple weeks. And while there have been some hit movies this year like Wonder Woman and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, man, there have been a lot of duds, like Baywatch, which I watched it, I liked it, not a lot of other people went to see it, and Valerian, again, watched it, I liked it for what it was, very fun, did not do great. Luc Besson's in trouble, perhaps. It looks like no Shia Labeouf in the next Indiana Jones movie. Perhaps this will save Hollywood. It's currently in development, and screenwriter David Cope told Entertainment Weekly that Harrison Ford plays Indiana Jones. That I can certainly say, and the Shia Labeouf character is not in the film. Okay, not a huge surprise given Labeouf's off-screen behavior in recent years and the kind of the reception to the last Indiana Jones films overall, but his character, Matt Williams, was positioned as a successor to Indy in the last movie, so a little bit of a surprise maybe, despite the fact that, well, yeah, no one liked him. Oh well, problem solved. The 5th Indiana Jones film is planned to release in 2019, and Cope said, "We've got a script we're mostly happy with. Get ready for those rewrites." The reviews are in for season 1 of Marvel's Inhumans, and that could have used a rewrite because they were not good, like really not good. Like the kind of not good that made everyone who thought that comic book kids were dorks kind of right. The series currently has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 10 reviews. The show, about a group of people with superpowers who live on the moon, debuted on IMAX screens on September 1st, making it the first live-action television series to debut in IMAX. Critics, though, hated it, calling it the weakest MCU entry so far. IGN said, "Inhumans is bad from top to bottom. Try as it might, the show does not live up to the Marvel brand. It is most definitely not worth seeing in IMAX, and I wouldn't recommend catching it on TV either." Las Vegas Weekly said, "At best, Inhumans resembles a mediocre 90s syndicated genre series, and blowing it up to IMAX size just puts a bigger spotlight on the flaws." Look, if anyone saw those trailers, this isn't a huge surprise. I've loved most of the Marvel Netflix series. I loved a lot of the other superhero stuff on TV, but this makes us all look bad. So if you are still interested, the show does premiere on ABC September 29th, and we'll see how that does. I'm so sad too. Ramsay Bolton's in it. I want to like him in other stuff since I hated him so much in Game of Thrones, but well, looks like this isn't the one. Things are a little bit scary right now with North Korea testing nuclear missiles and all that, but that's actually not what Elon Musk is worried about right now. Well, not the only thing. Nope. The SpaceX and Tesla chief says he's got a different fear of what's going to start World War III. And it's going to be artificial intelligence. The topic has clearly been on Musk's mind. Last month, he was one of the 100 tech leaders who called for a ban on lethal autonomous weapons, but recent comments from Russian President Vladimir Putin, who said that whoever leads in AI research will rule the world, prompted a tweet storm from Musk, who tweeted that the competition for AI superiority will be the most likely cause of another global war. Such a war, he tweeted, might even be initiated by an AI itself, if it decides that a preemptive strike is the most probable path to victory. So, yeah, nice to see that we're officially living in a Terminator movie. It would be nice if all of our robots could get along, kill us nicely, you know, like Roomba keeps trying to do. I'm not sure what's up with that. That's all the news we have for you today. Let us know what you think of all this news in the comments down below to make sure you get news from every corner of the internet every single day. Like this video. If you're new around here, subscribe to The Know. The top movie in the States last weekend was The Hitman's Bodyguard, starring Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson, with a measly $10. Well, $10, $10 million. Measly $10. Quite a tweet storm from Musk, who tweeted that competition for AI superiority